Needless to say, neither of us are Homo sapiens.
No.
We had our first match. Brock Lesnar. I love Brock Lesnar. I actually love Brock Lesnar.
He's growing on me. I've seen some interviews lately, like some, off the cuff interviews with him, and his wrestling knowledge is great, and he does seem like he cares about the business. My, history with Brock is basically getting out of wrestling when he kind of started and seeing him kind of go like right to part-time very early in, and then taking the Undertaker streak, which I know that the Undertaker did that, right? Like that was his decision, but that killed me. Been an Undertaker fan since I was like 4 years old, so I always just kind of had like a dislike for him. But getting back into things and seeing some more behind the scenes with him, I will, give him some more respect than I have in the past. So
I like Brock, and Omos is boring. Like, I'm sorry, and I don't think it's his fault. Don't get me wrong.
It's a very Vince McMahon like character. He loves the big giants. He loves the story of like, big giant invincible man, like.
And like, if you want to make Omos like win, that's fine, right? If you want to push him hard, that's fine. But do we need to have this scenario where he not only wins all the time, but also like nothing matters?
Yeah, it's like, moves don't hurt him, or, you can't lift
Brock,
him up.
He did something that kind of like sort of phased him, which is nice, but like it was a short match. Brock lost after maybe doing one thing that Omos was like, oh. They're not fun to watch, right?
Yeah.
It's very one-sided, very uninteresting. So I know they're going to keep pushing it. I'll see if I can pull up that TikTok video or later. We'll see. But where they did like I don't know. I couldn't tell if it was the AI voice or if it was just someone just voicing it over saying, I'm Vince McMahon. But either way, we went from that boring match to a shitty match. We had our Ronda Rousey versus Shayna Baszler. Sorry, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville versus Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Fatal 4-Way Showcase match.
Why? So I think they tried to do a few interesting things. Obviously, something happened with Shayna, and I don't even think there's been a kayfabe explanation at all. They just aren't, like, Ronda and Shayna are just, like, MIA. I haven't heard anything, so maybe I've missed something. But, like, Shayna clearly Ronda was already hurt. And something clearly happened to Shayna, because they were, like, invisible the whole time. Yeah. Until the very end, when, surprise, they win.
Ronda Rousey wins.
I think the other women did a good job trying to kind of do what the men did night one.
It was actually somewhat of an interesting match. They looked like they were having fun.
Yeah, getting, a whole bunch of them involved, doing some crazy things. As much as Liv and Raquel don't seem like they would be a good matchup, they do a great job utilizing Liv's smallness basically to Raquel's like height and having her like lift her up and flip her around. Yeah. So I thought that was very interesting.
Liv brings a lot of great energy to the match too. Yeah. Always, I like the matches that I've seen her, and she seems very excitable, which is fun, right? Yeah. It's good. And so I was actually surprised to see Sonya Deville in in the match. Who looks just like her boss.
She looks like my boss.
It's so uncanny.
Every time I see her, I just refer to her as my boss. So it's funny. But yeah, like I was surprised to see her too, because I wasn't really sure what her involvement was at this point either.
Yeah.
And her match, pairing with Chelsea Green seems pretty funny.
Yeah. I like Chelsea Green too. I that was my first time seeing her. I liked what I saw. She seems funny. She seems, talented, and she seems like she'd be a lot of she seems like another strong addition to the women's roster in WWE that isn't being utilized properly. When was that Dana Brooke sign being held up? Because that was another.
I can't remember.
Was that Raw after Mania or was it
during WrestleMania? Or maybe it was Raw.
No, I think it was Raw after Mania because So, but Dana Brooke, another person who's not being utilized all that well. We never talked about that NXT event. What was it called? It's just something that popped into my head.
Oh yeah, I want to say
Stand and Deliver.
Yes.
Yeah, so we did watch that, or part of that, before WrestleMania.
Scrolled through some of the matches.
Yeah, we watched the Gigi Dolan et al. Indy Hartwell ladder match.
Yeah.
Dexter Lumis. So just, not to go off on too big of a tangent. That just popped into my head. because I think the NXT actually has a lot of very talented women as well, or women with a lot of potential talent who could use a little bit more development. But that's just it just popped into my head. But yeah, overall we were pissed with the ending of that match because
and then,
fuck Ronda Rousey.
And then it didn't really make sense because they win, so they should have a title match shot, and then it's like next night they're not involved at all, and Liv and Raquel are contenders, right? Like, it just very strange. And again, like I said, if they had done some kind of like kayfabe thing, it would make more sense. But I feel like they just glossed over. And you saw like Shayna was missing a shoe, not really sure exactly what happened there.
We missed
she could
that.
barely she was like hobbling around. They just let, and then Ronda, she can barely even do her armbar because I think she like shattered or broke her like elbow or something like that.
Just get her out. Just get her out. She talks shit on the WWE. I don't like her. She's boring. She's not a good wrestler.
And she'll probably be back at Backlash for something. So it's just whatever. So
we're not. We do not like Ronda Rousey.
Any
in this house.
Potential excitement for that match or anything that happened that was exciting just got ruined by the ending. So
yeah.
Especially for two wrestlers that were not involved at all in the match, to just come out of nowhere and win it.
Yeah, but yeah, and
just kind of took all the wind out. Right, it was just like, oh, all right, cool.
Yeah. Then we moved on to a pretty good match. I think it was possibly no. Okay, the next few matches were pretty good. We had Drew McIntyre and Gunther and Sheamus.
Yes. Forgot all about that. That was great.
It was a good match.
A lot of chops.
A lot of chops. A lot of slaps. Banger after banger after banger after banger after banger after banger.
Yeah, I think Gunther, Sheamus' ongoing kind of like little feud, and obviously continuing after their very good matchup. Yeah. But a really good match. Not sad that there was no title change, right? Like, it was still exciting for Gunther to retain, but I wanted a title change just because I was just like, oh, that'll be fun. But not the way it went, but it was still very exciting. Didn't change how I felt about the match at all.
I think the Imperium, which is the stable that Gunther runs, I guess, is very cool because like usually they're all like edgy or like crazy wild, and this is just like, no, we are very strict, like it's interesting, and dare I say, risky of them to have the Austrian man lead the Imperium, but
I mean, that's very good. So,
but I like it. I like it. I think they're good. We were commenting at first on Gunther's body, saying like, because we were surprised at how young relatively he looked, because he looks like, and this is going to sound mean, but he looks, especially coming from me of all people, he looks like he has like an old man body. But then we found out he actually like lost a lot of weight, and that explains everything, because that's honestly that's how I'll probably look someday if I ever lose the weight.
Yeah, but his body change was very
impressive. Yeah,
and he was a good call up from NXT. Like he's very talented, and he's really good at selling moves too. Like he makes his opponents look strong and look great. So I think overall just his wrestling ability and just like the way he handles himself in the ring. Which surprised me because at first. I think just from playing the games, I was kind of like, oh, this guy, like, and I know there's like a name change. He was like Walter before, and people were upset that
he?
Yeah, they changed his name.
Gunther's a much better name.
Yeah, and that's what I feel too. Yeah. But like people were upset about like some of the small changes that they made. But yeah, like getting to actually watch him wrestle versus like having to fight him in a game because he's like supposed to be like my opponent, so now I hate him and I dislike him. Yeah, it was nice to actually get to experience him in real life, like, actually do something.
But, very, very talented. He's also one of, like, 10 wrestlers that has short hair, which is nice. I feel like there's...
Oh, really? I don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Oh, my God. It's crazy how many wrestlers have long hair. Like huge...
What? Think about, like, how difficult it is to wrestle with your hair down. Yeah. Like, think of how all the women do that. Like, that's some skill there.
I'm just saying. It's funny that there's, like, it's just... I'm just trying to think, right? Like, you've got... Especially, it's not fair to say this, but especially if you look back.
Oh yeah, well that was like,
but that was also
like the look.
But like you got Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, the Usos are they're not really long hair. Sami Zayn, then Kevin Owens, but so I guess I think it's less that there's an extremely large number of long-haired male wrestlers. I think it's just as compared to a sample of the population, it's overrepresented long. long hair.
Probably.
So that's why it sticks out to me more because I'm not used to seeing it as much. I think my youngest brother had his hair long for a very long time, and he was one of the few guys who I regularly saw who had long hair, and now he doesn't. But.
I mean, I grew up watching wrestling, and I'm a heavy metal fan, so it's like I don't notice. I'm not phased.
That's funny. It's just funny because like, and especially because like the Imperium, they have like the high end tight, so they're especially noticeable because it's like the far other.
Sheamus got his little short buzz.
yeah.
It adds like 3 inches to his height. I thought he was taller than Gunther, and I was surprised to find out he's like an inch or two shorter, and I was like, no way.
Sheamus has been a wrestler that I liked ever since I saw him in the Royal Rumble, and like I said, I think 2011, I was like, that guy looks cool! He's crazy Irishman. Drew McIntyre also... Can we talk about how we saw clips of him from years ago, and he looks so young?
Yes.
And
because he had no beard.
I would not even be able to like...
That's Drew McIntyre?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, if you were to show me these two pictures, I'd say these are not the same people. I'm sorry. That was crazy.
I was like just amazed because I think we watched Royal Rumble 2010 or something. Yes. And I was just like, what? And then you just put them side by side. And I mean, Sami Zayn also looks completely different when you don't see his crazy hair and beard either.
Yeah. So after the Drew McIntyre Sheamus Gunther match, we had Bianca Belair versus Asuka.
I'm sad because we're big Asuka fans.
Yes,
so.
big Asuka.
I mean, she's had obviously a tremendous run in the WWE, even in NXT and things like that. But Bianca's kind of like the John Cena, I think now.
They're calling her Jane Cena.
Yeah. Oh, I hate Jane. I don't like that. But yeah, so I wasn't surprised for her to retain. And she does a lot of good as the champion, right? So you can't. I don't want
I'm not upset. It's like the only reason I'm upset is because I love Asuka, not because I have any problem with Bianca being champion. Yeah. She's great. Yeah, she's very talented,
super strong,
very strong. Oh my god, her explosive power in that match was crazy to watch.
Yeah, I liked. And we watched her last year too. And, it was nice to see like she's just really talented. Yeah. And obviously Asuka's a great technical wrestler as well, and. I like, Asuka's has such a personality, right?
Yeah.
Like her entrance, and like, kind of like this new character where she's a little bit more
the Empress of Tomorrow, the Queen of Chaos.
Yeah, so she definitely
the Photoshop god.
Yeah. Yeah, she's funny outside of the ring.
Yeah, big fan.
Talking about Bubble Bobble this morning on Twitter.
Nice.
She buys like arcade machines and things like that. So
yeah, so we're very biased. We're very pro Asuka here.
I also tried to dye my hair like her a little while ago. I only got one half, but I tried real hard. So
well, one day you'll finally do what I tell you to do and go get it done professionally.
No.
Okay.
I'll have Asuka do it. She actually has a hair salon in Japan. So
she's got to move to Japan. Long life goals. I hear it's super easy.
It only takes like 10 years.
Yeah, they open their borders to let anybody in. That's what I hear.
But great match. Sad for Asuka, but like I said, can't fault them for having.
Yeah, no, I'm not right. I'm not upset with the decision or anything like that. Just I like to see Asuka win, but it was a great match. Both sides really kind of putting on display the best of what they do. So it was fun to watch. Good match. That might have been. I was really gonna say about the Drew McIntyre one. I was like, that might have been the match of the night. And then I looked and I was like, that might have been the match of the night. I was like, oh, that might have been the match of the night. And then obviously that might have been the match. Of the night. So next up we have Edge versus Finn Balor in the Hell in a Cell match.
Yep. Which I think could have been better had Finn's skull not get spliced open there. So
yeah, that was rough.
I did hear, so again, we didn't really get a lot of the lore leading up to everything. It sounds like Edge had already kind of gotten his revenge, along with Beth Phoenix. So, like, she had gotten attacked, and, like, they already kind of had a match where, like, Edge got to win, and so people were kind of disappointed that Edge won. They felt like maybe Finn should have won, especially because Edge is kind of on hiatus again, and it just seemed a little strange. So I know that kind of upset a few people. They weren't sure if maybe it was just a call because of what happened in the ring.
Right.
And also, we found out too, Finn, I think, had a torn calf or something.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this guy was just entering the ring injured, getting injured in the ring, you know, to the point where the match had to be put on hold while they kind of figured out why he was bleeding so profusely.
So
it kind of, I think, took a lot of the momentum of the match away. And they kind of, you know, went through the rest of the match not as intense as it probably would have been.
And it's a shame because, like, you know, and again, not faulting them for this decision, but it is when you have the demon Finn Balor who's like this unstoppable force, and then all of a sudden the doctors have to come out and like, take a look at his head. It's like, also, I hated the grunts. I know some people love it. I hate the grunts. I hate the noises. I don't like that.
I think if
not the biggest Finn Balor fan. He's not that he's bad. I think he's fine. I think it was just not my thing.
Some of the hot mics, I think, like pick it up so much that it gets a little strange. But I agree.
I think it was a great match. I think, you know, Edge, from what I've heard online, people say Edge is phenomenal in cage matches. So that's always great. And, you know, the goofy color-coded kendo sticks and chairs was fun.
And the table.
And the table even was, And
when Edge put the kendo sticks inside the cage to, like, kind of trap him, like, that was all great. That was, like, moments before, you know, then Finn's head got split open, so...
blood everywhere. I was like, oh, man, there's a lot of blood on that mat. Like, I guess maybe the doctors should take a look. Then originally it was reported that he got numbing agent before, but then he was like, there was
he
no...
He said absolutely not. They're
so
like, they went out, gave him a couple quick staples, and then numbed it, and he's just like, no. He went back into the match.
More specifically, they numbed it first and then stapled it, because otherwise he just got staples right in the head. It was big. It was like it was
I think it was 14 staples overall.
Huge.
So, I mean...
Good for him.
Kudos to him. Like, that's insane. Sucks that obviously it kind of turned how the match turned out, but like still overall good match.
Yeah, still a good match. You know, again, could have been better, but not because of anything that anyone did, just because that's how it played out. Unfortunate
circumstance.
But you know, very good match, and again, the only complaint is I can see how it could have been even better.
Yeah.
But you know, nobody's fault on that one. Nobody's to blame. Then we had definitively the match of the night. When Shane McMahon came out to wrestle came out to wrestle The Miz, and then in classic McMahon fashion,
they're cursed.
Tore his quad like 5 seconds into the match.
I was literally in the kitchen getting some snacks, and I heard the music, and I hear him screaming from the other room, like, Shane's back! And then he's like, I think he tore his quad, and I thought he was joking. I was like, ha 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 ha, very funny. And then, no, actually. And then WWE kind of wrote that out, because every time they show a recap, there's no mention of Shane at all.
They just skip right to Snoop Dogg, which props to him, and it was the Jessica Carr. Yeah, great ref Jessica Carr. She called in for the impromptu, and then Snoop Dogg lived up to it. He came in, he knocked out The Miz, and then he delivered the greatest People's Elbow in the history of People's Elbow. Rivaled only by last year's Vince McMahon Stone Cold Stunner Cell.
Oh.
But that was great. That was a fun, goofy, wild. It's a perfect encapsulation of why wrestling is so great when things go wrong sometimes. Yeah. It's unfortunate that, obviously Shane... At first we thought he just blew a knee, but then I've heard that it was in fact a torn quad, which is just too funny. Although at that point, I wouldn't be surprised if they lied about it just to say, no, it's way better if we say he tore his quad. But
kayfabe quad.
Kayfabe torn quad. But yes, that was funny. That was great. Snoop Dogg, good on him. WWE Hall of Famer Snoop Dogg. I gotta put some respect on the name.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed it, but I can see all the recaps. Except that I can't see Shane now if I watch through the WWE because...
Well, we can still watch the recap on Peacock. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
They probably deleted it.
But
who's Shane McMahon?
Yeah, right.
Don't know him.
So then we had the final match of the night, which was a good match. And man, the entrances on this match were better than the match.
Oh, yeah. The pianos.
Roman Reigns, final boss music versus Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Like, at first...
Well, Cody Rhodes came out first.
I thought Roman came out first.
No, I'm pretty sure Cody Rhodes came out
Oh, did
first,
he?
and he had his politician walk, prime minister walk,
Well,
kissing babies.
Kissing the mat. Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was kissing everyone, and then he kissed the mat that just had blood all over it.
He gave his belt to
Brody Lee's son.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and again, the crowd for his entrance music.
Yep.
That is so cool. Like goosebumps moment. So great.
The hype.
Yeah. And then again, you have the Roman Reigns piano.
There's like 7 pianos, and they're just and the slow walk. I mean,
it was like 7.5 minutes.
Yeah, let's just say it took about 8 minutes.
It
but
was crazy.
It's a huge moment, right? So, don't fault them for the lengthy entrances. It's a big build up. It's a big moment. It's WrestleMania main event. So, great on them. I think production and everything like that was fantastic. Beautiful.
Yeah, and and I liked watching the match. It was those guys are both very good at what they do. I saw fewer spears than I thought I was going to. Yeah, I was expecting a lot more.
Last year there was like
spear after spear.
Yeah, yep. It was kind of.
It was Roman Reigns versus who was that last year? It was Brock. It was Brock Lesnar, right?
Was it?
I think it was. I think it was.
I think
I'm gonna double check now.
Blanked that out of my head. But yeah, I overall wonderful, great match, and then obviously the end upset tons of people.
Brock Lesnar, yeah.
The crowd's reaction, right? And I think that speaks volumes, right? Obviously, I was upset at first because it just seemed like with the build-up, this was just Cody's gonna win. That's it. You can't have it go any other way.
And I had said, and this is something that I'm sure is going to come across as we continue this podcast about me. I always look for the most charitable interpretation of things. I always try to find basically I try to really what it boils down to is I try to find ways to avoid being too negative about things like this if I can help it. So what I said is if Cody had won that match, people would not be talking about it as much.
Yeah.
They wouldn't. They would have loved it. They would have been hyped as heck in the moment. And I'm not saying that this is necessarily that what happened is the right move, right? I'm just saying that it is a move, and they can do things with it. Now, I have seen a lot of very compelling arguments in the last day or two about how it could have been better if Cody had won and what they could have done. And I agree, right? There are definitely a lot of things that could have been better about it if they won. But then maybe at that moment they were like, we have plans. We know what we're going to do with this. And we know that if Cody loses in a banger of a match, WrestleMania Night 2 main event, it is going to have people talking about the WWE for weeks.
Yeah. And I think, too, it seems like what's going on with the Bloodline, they're not done yet. So how do you have Roman lose when you haven't really, it seems like...
They're doing...
In order for Roman to lose, you have to have the Bloodline crumble because everyone's interfering for him, everyone's supporting him in matches. He basically needs to be left on his own, and that isn't set up yet.
They're doing a fizzle out story, really. Yeah. So which would have come instead of if Cody had won, it would have been more like just an abrupt ending.
Yeah.
Roman ended the story, by the way. But it would have been an abrupt ending, and that's not what they wanted. They want to have this Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Kevin Owens, all that.
They're introducing more.
There's more to it than just Cody and Roman.
And what do you do with Cody after that, right? Who's the next big guy to fight him?
People are arguing that you could, because now Brock Lesnar isn't allowed to challenge Roman Reigns for the title, but he would be allowed to challenge Cody. So again, definitely there are options no matter how you look at it. But I can see that, it looks like the WWE is planning on doing more of a fizzle out story, the fall of the bloodline. I don't know, I keep saying fizzle out, but that makes it sound like the story is fizzling out. No, like the story of the fall of the bloodline rather than just having an instantaneous collapse and a new story. So
where you haven't closed all of the open ends right now. Yeah. So I agree. I think at first I was very shocked. I mean, I felt like there was a couple people in the audience that were just like,
oh,
and that was me at first. I was just like, bro, they have been building this up. Are you kidding? And even for people just getting back into it, we knew how built up that was. And so I was just, shocked. But that also is like you said, right? Like that's the thing that gets people talking, and you know, obviously, I forgot who said it, but they said like, you know, if you're the person who said I'm not watching anymore, I'm turning this off because Cody lost, like then the
mission accomplished.
Yeah, that's exactly what they want. Right?
Because you're also coming back.
Yeah, and you're gonna keep listening and watching for like hints that maybe he'll win again, so you can turn it back on, right? But like you know, you're not done.
Yeah.
And they've gotten this emotional reaction out of you, right? Like that means that they did a good job. If Cody won, you're like, yeah, I saw that coming.
Right. You say, good, I got what I wanted,
Yeah.
and then that would have been it. You would have been satisfied, absolutely. And I'm not gonna pull. I saw some people on Twitter saying this is the instant gratification generation. Global. It was like, okay, let's take a step back. Yeah, but you know, not for nothing. There is a little bit of validity to the idea of you would have been satisfied and happy that night, but then the next night you would have been like, what now?
Yeah.
Whereas now you're like. You're emotional. You're upset.
And how are they going to build?
But you're
back?
invested still.
Yeah.
It's not like that's what it is. If they had ended it, if Cody had won, your investment would have dropped, right? And you would have had to build up new investment in this story. Whereas now you are still invested.
Yep.
You are, and it makes it easier for them to keep kind of trudging along. And again, as long as they do a good job, which. Monday night, maybe it seemed like they weren't gonna, but now, you know, we're a week later with a couple, so, you know, we're optimistic here.
Mm-hmm.
We're optimistic here, but, you know, I think overall, night 1 of WrestleMania, way better.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was so good. Like, so good. Night 2 had some good matches, had some less good matches.
Yeah.
And
I will say night 1 was tough to beat.
Yeah.
I would have been very surprised if night 2 somehow was better. I would have wished it was a little bit more equal, but I think, you know, there was just a couple of, you know, things that were going on that just kind of didn't really get it.
We didn't even talk about my favorite part about WrestleMania Night 1. Which is when KSI revealed that he was in the Prime mascot.
And it was funny because, you know, there were some talks of like, who do you think's in Prime? And everyone's just like, oh, it's gotta be like Jake Paul, like forgetting all about KSI. So it was a big surprise.
To be fair, KSI was the obvious choice because he's his business partner in Prime.
But totally forgot about him and seemed like everyone else did that I was talking to.
He had tweeted out earlier that day, or like I think it was Twitter, Instagram, something like, oh, leaving LA. And so like he was literally like trying to push away. But yeah, so that was great, and I mean, he is an expressive guy. He is a funny guy. From what I've seen, I don't follow either of them really, other than I follow what Logan Paul terrible things he does.
Yeah,
I don't know a lot about KSI other than like I know he's very expressive. So when he rips off that mask and he's got that grin on his face, I was so. I was happy. It was so funny. It was
I didn't
so
think I could
awesome.
ever feel excitement for KSI. So
Right,
I was just like, what? Like, I was like thrilled.
And then, of course, Logan Paul frog splashing him through the table was so good. And like the photo ops afterwards, they're great. They're made for wrestling. And it's so funny because they are. They're made for wrestling. And it sounds like Logan Paul does agree with that sentiment. So, and even KSI was even hinting at wanting to get into the ring maybe next year at WrestleMania, which... I have mixed feelings about the idea of celebrities just being like, I'm on WrestleMania, when there's so many wrestlers who don't get onto it. But at the same time, like, they would draw numbers potentially, especially new people, right? If they can draw KSI fans in and be like, whoa, this is cool. And let's be honest, who better to bring into like wrestling to look at it than young KSI and Logan Paul fans? Because they'll be like, this is so cool.
Well, did you see them like trying to fight over the last Prime bottles? I mean, like, so yeah.
So it's a tangent, but I completely forgot. I literally,
I meant to bring it up, and then we were talking about so many different things.
I had to get the GIF of him because I loved it so much.